GFDRR's Inclusive Disaster Risk Management and Gender Equality Cross-Cutting Priority Area works to advance and strengthen social resilience among communities to ensure that the most vulnerable are protected against the impacts of climate change and natural hazards. Significant progress has been made in integrating gender considerations across all of our activities, with 92% of approved grants under the umbrella this past fiscal year being gender-informed. We are also focusing on increasing the number of grants that incorporate disability considerations. With our global focus, we can identify trends and emerging topics to use our resources in the most efficient manner. We're seeing an increased demand and interest in supporting adaptive social protection and inclusive early warning systems across all regions. We're currently conducting a stocktake of best practices for inclusive adaptive social protection interventions, and we see 4 areas of opportunity. 1, to enhance social registries to inform hazard risk assessments to improve the identification of most at-risk groups. 2, to leverage economic inclusion activities to reduce livelihood vulnerability and enhance communities' resilience to disaster risks. 3, to adjust existing social protection programs to support disaster-affected populations. And 4, to strengthen public financial management for adaptive social protection programs. The second emerging theme builds on the momentum of the UN Early Warnings for All initiative that is an urgent climate adaptation and disaster risk reduction measure. As you know, early warning systems only work if the people at risk receive the warning and understand it and are able to act on it. This can be challenging given the diversity of the population at risk and how they may interpret and use the risk information that's conveyed as part of the early warning. To respond to this demand, GFDRR is partnering with experts to identify scalable and replicable interventions and recommendations to operationalize inclusive early warning systems through bank financing and other channels.
Warnings are not a unidirectional or linear process of sending information to individuals and communities from scientific or government experts. This does not facilitate inclusivity or understanding. Instead, warnings should be a continual and accessible process involving everyone. That is inclusive warnings. An excellent example is in Fiji, where Women's Weather Watch trains a network of women leaders to use real-time information, interpret it, and then send it via text and social media in order to ensure that everyone in the community receives alerts about severe weather.
Based on the evidence compiled so far, we see an opportunity to scale up interventions that leverage participatory approaches to enable warnings that are linked to each community's local context and hazard profile. For example, Haiti is highly vulnerable to earthquakes and tropical storms. Because people didn't always understand the early warning messages about the threat level, the color coding, the Civil Protection Agency worked to develop a warning system that would be much more easily understood by the general population and could be broadcast on a variety of platforms that were commonly used by the local communities. They even used local music stars to prepare songs, dances on TVs, radio stations. They also had robocalls to people's cell phones. They really helped spread the word about emergency preparedness and response, especially among young people. We're also working to expand inclusive early warning systems that leverage community participation to identify groups that may need a differentiated approach to preparedness and warnings. For example, people with visual or hearing impairments, the elderly, people who may need extra support to evacuate or even just receive and interpret the warnings in a more accessible way. To build our global knowledge across the community of practitioners, we held 2 sessions on both of these topics during the Understanding Risk conference in Brazil this past November.
To build adaptive social protections in Indonesia, because learning from the pandemic of it, we need to have more adaptive social protections. So what we are doing in adaptive social protection is that we build at least 4 pillars. One is on how we can build the data through through social economic registry, and then strengthen the coordination mechanisms. And then the third one is on how we can build also more sustainable financing mechanisms. And then the fourth one is we have to also improve the awareness of the community.
One of the most important things in innovation is that we have been developing more models and methods of payment in order to provide to the beneficiaries, it doesn't matter if they're from the program or not, more opportunities to get this cash transfers. For example, we have developed recently as an SMS.
And we plan to continue this conversation with practitioners as the agenda evolves. Looking forward, we plan to scale up our technical assistance and financial support for inclusive disaster risk management and gender equality to ensure that no one is left behind before, during, or after a disaster strikes. Thank you for your attention.